Let's piss some people off.
Something that happens to a person when they finally feel safe. And honestly, I don't think people talk about this enough. Not physically safe, but emotionally safe. Safe enough to stop constantly overthinking. Safe enough to stop preparing for disappointment. Safe enough to finally relax their nervous system for the first time in years. Because survival mode changes people, and when survival mode becomes your normal, peace can actually feel unfamiliar at first. Hi, and welcome back to I Am Spice, the podcast, where we talk about healing, identity, emotional growth, relationships, self awareness, and becoming the version of yourself that no longer has to survive everything emotionally just to exist. If you've been enjoying the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share the episode, and follow the journey because these conversations are becoming much bigger than just a podcast now. I think a lot of people don't realize how deeply survival mode affects personality. It changes the way you think, the way you react, the way you communicate, the way you rest, the way you trust people, the way your body responds to stress, even the way you experience happiness sometimes. People have no clue how this affects you. When someone spends years emotionally surviving, their nervous system becomes used to tension constantly. It's used to overthinking, used to being emotionally alert all the time. It's used to preparing for something to go wrong all the time. And after a while, the body stops recognizing peace as normal. That's why so many people struggle with stillness. That's why so many people struggle with peace, because when your nervous system has spent years in survival mode, silence can almost feel suspicious. I know what that feels like. Calmness feels unfamiliar. Rest feels unfamiliar. Not being emotionally overwhelmed feels unfamiliar. And honestly, that's exhausting. I think many people are functioning every single day without realizing how emotionally tired they actually are, because survival mode becomes identity after a while. You become the strong one, the independent one, the one who handles everything, the one who never slows down, the one everybody depends on. But constantly surviving is not the same thing as living. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that now. I think a lot of people are starting to look up into that, especially after years of emotional pressure, stress, responsibilities, disappointments, overstimulation, heartbreak, anxiety, burnout, and constantly carrying emotional weight internally while still trying to function normally on the outside. Eventually, the body starts asking for peace. Not excitement, not chaos, not constant stimulation. It just wants peace. And honestly, peace changes people. People speak differently when they feel emotionally safe. They sleep differently. They think differently. They react differently. They even love differently. They even carry themselves differently. A person who finally feels safe stops moving through life with the same emotional urgency. They stop over explaining every boundary. They stop panicking every time someone becomes distant. They stop constantly trying to prove their worth. People don't realize this. They stop feeling emotionally responsible for everybody else's reactions to everything. And that shift changes everything. I think one of the saddest things about survival mode is that many people don't even realize they're in it because they've been functioning that way for so long that they forget who they were meant to be or how they were supposed to act. They think constant anxiety is normal. They think emotional exhaustion is normal. They think being emotional hyper alert is normal. They think never fully relaxing is normal. And eventually, they forget what calm even feels like. That's why healing can feel uncomfortable at first, because your nervous system has to relearn safety. And honestly, relearning safety is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like very quiet. It just looks very quiet. Everything around you is just quiet. It looks like finally sleeping better, finally saying no without guilt, finally allowing yourself to rest, finally being around people who don't emotionally drain you, finally realizing you don't have to constantly prepare for emotional disappointment. And maybe that's why emotional safety changes people so deeply, because when someone no longer has to survive emotional hardship or survive emotionally all the time, parts of them finally come back to life. Their softness returns, their creativity returns, their joy returns, their ability to present themselves returns. People bloom differently when they finally feel safe. And honestly, I think that's part of why I've become so passionate about spaces like the House of Spice. Because I think so many women are carrying invisible emotional exhaustion while still trying to appear strong all the time. And sometimes people don't need another place to perform. No, they don't. They need spaces where they can breathe, they can laugh, where they feel understood, feel calm, feel emotional safe, enough to simply exist without pressure. I think emotional safety is something people are craving more than they even realize right now. Not perfection, not constant motivation, not performance, just peace. Honestly, just be at peace. And the truth is, peace changes your standards too. Once your nervous system experiences calmness, chaos stops looking attractive the same way. You just stop craving that. You stop glorifying emotional instability. You stop chasing things that constantly drain you. You stop normalizing environments that make your body feel tense all the time, because it is not good for you. Because eventually your body starts recognizing that that is not peace. That is not safety. That is not healthy for me. We have to get there. And honestly, the awareness changes your entire life. I think one of the most beautiful parts about healing is realizing that you were never asking for too much. Have you ever felt guilty for that? Because you thought that you were asking for too much. You were asking for emotional safety. And those are two very different things. The truth is, people become very different versions of themselves when they finally can feel safe. People feel calmer, softer. They can be more present, more emotionally grounded, more connected to themselves. And isn't that wonderful? And maybe that's not weakness. Maybe that's what happens when the nervous system finally realizes, I don't have to survive here anymore. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's emotionally exhausted from constantly surviving. And if nobody has reminded you lately, you deserve spaces, relationships, and environments where your nervous system can finally breathe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for growing with me through every version of this journey. And I'll see you guys in the next episode of I Am Spies, the podcast. Love you bunches.
And remember, we're unfiltered, unapologetic, and unstoppable. That's that.